And we are live with Jeff, his son Morgan, and myself. And we will be discussing this episode right here. The Web.
Ooh, got the title
by Terry
card and
Nation.
everything.
Yeah, I only got like the first 10 minutes. In future, we will be even snazzier with our graphics and stuff.
Yeah, we can't quite do that with Homicide because they don't put the titles on the screen like that. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
Right, so there's Jenna. I think I got this one from. So that's what she looked like, folks, in Time Squad.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, that was a better outfit than the one she switched to in this one.
Yeah, she still looked good though.
Yep, she almost looked like she was wearing Nissa's outfit from Doctor Who, which I liked because I liked the kind of burgundy color that it was, but it didn't seem to fit her character that much. I mean, Jenna's character. Seems a little too formal.
So, Jeff, how do you think this special effect was done?
I don't know, because I don't want to look at it. That was like... Morgan commented on the creepiness of that, too.
Yeah, that was gross. I didn't like looking at it.
There was something in Doctor Who like that. I can't remember what it was, but there was some kind of creature that was very similar to that, and I don't remember even what it was, but I remember the same kind of thing.
Or the brain.
I mean, like...
Well, not that, but there was something where the face was in the water or something. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, cut a hole in the wall, put your head through, and then have a little body underneath.
Yeah,
I mean, that's something you could do on stage.
Yeah.
So I'm interested by the fact that last night, I think you and Morgan watched 4 episodes in a row. 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I guess so. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Because I had already seen 2, 3, and 4, and he hadn't.
So I can ask Morgan now. What do you think of Blake 7 so far? Because you've seen those 4 episodes.
I guess I like it. I can't tell. What's that guy's name? The computer dude.
Avon?
Sure. Even though he uses soldering iron more than anything else. He continues to imply that he's going to betray all of them. Yet he doesn't actually do it, and nobody actually takes him seriously enough to do anything about it. It's kind of weird to me. I don't know. I can't tell if I want him to betray all of them or if I want him to just shut up.
It's funny you should say that because I made the point to Ben that I thought that all the people that started following Blake did it too easily. They trust him too much and just sort of let him be the leader, where it seemed like a lot more people would have objected at the beginning. Like he would have had to really win them over, and he didn't. It was just like everybody was just like, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. Yeah.
So Avon acting like that to me is actually a little more realistic because he's actually being the one that's like, hey, we don't necessarily have to do everything this guy says all the time. Who says he's really the right guy to be making all these decisions? Like when he said the thing about, that they agreed to discuss things, and then he tells the computer a course, and Avon says something like, that's not exactly my idea of a full discussion.
Yep.
Like you said, we watched them all back to back, and so I don't even remember which episode that was that he said that in, but they're blurring together a little bit for me.
I was just intrigued by the fact that you watched all 4 back to back, so you must have liked it, and I wondered what you liked about it.
Yeah, I guess he's talking about you.
Yeah. Were you interested enough to watch 4 in a row?
Yeah, there you go. That's what I thought about it then.
It didn't make him want to throw himself off a bridge.
That's true.
So is it the Avon character that you like most, Morgan?
No.
Ooh, what would you like most?
That's difficult for me to say. I didn't have like a list that was already prearranged, but
While we were watching it, you said you thought Gan was the best.
well, I
Like he
said
was,
he
he was the
was.
most useful character.
Yeah,
Anyway.
he was. He was cool. He was the most useful character. So I like that about him. But in general, he seems kind of boring because they seem to just use him as whatever they need him to do, like as a plot device, basically. Kind of like whatever they need something to be done, and they don't really have a specific thing for it. They're just like, all right, your job. But
Yeah, well, that does tend to happen to the big guy on the crew in anything. Like,
I still
hey,
thought he was
big
cool
guy, you can do this.
because he was like wounded in multiple places and teleported them all back just in time to save them. Um, yeah, the fighting and the wounds and stuff, I can't keep up because it's so bad. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Like, I'm like, okay, he just got shot, and they stretched his shoulder out like he had just, tweaked it a little bit, and now he's fine. I'm not sure how that works. Uh, then some other guy got like, what's his name? Got kicked. The big guy. He got like kicked or something, and that's it.
Yes. Even when you can look at Buck Rogers at the same time, the fighting was also bad. It's like something of that era. Like the guy Gil Gerard who played Buck Rogers, he couldn't really fight either. With something that was made at about the same time. I think maybe a couple of years later. So yeah, the fighting wasn't very good in that age on TV. Although, as Jeff said, the martial arts, they were very good at the time, but they were specialists. What they were taught at drama school, though, is they were taught sword fighting. They weren't really taught how to do proper fighting.
So, do you want to do your little summary of the episode, or?
Yeah, okay. Right. My little summary. Right. Here we go. What we got here? The web. The Liberator, drawn off course into a vicious web-like substance. When Callie, possessed by an alien force, sabotages the ship, the force controlling Callie then briefly takes over Jenna and orders Blake to land the ship on a nearby planet. Callie suspects that the intruder is the Lost, a group of scientists exiled by the Arinar, that's Callie's home planet, and her people. Blake teleports down to the planet alone and encounters two beautiful humanoids, Jula and Novara, as well as a group of ugly dwarf-like beings, the Decimers. These, it transpires, are all the genetically engineered creations of the Lost, who survive as a corporate mind in a single body. Samon, that's the little fella.
By the way,
The humanoids,
folks, the translation of beautiful in this case is weird looking. Oh, Morgan said creepy, I said weird looking, but
Definitely creepy.
Okay. Creepy good looking?
No, just creepy. I thought the girl was
Okay.
cute, but at first there was just creepiness. There was no.
Right.
When they kind of zoomed in when she was actually talking to people, and I was like, oh, okay. But when they were first just like reclining and whatever those things were, and it was just repeating that creepy guy's voice over and over again, and it was just like, oh, okay, this whole thing's creepy. Well, it's not.
the part with Callie doing the sabotage on the ship reminded me a little bit of Airplane 2 when he's like going back to work on the computer, and then when there's the bomb and all that, kind of reminded me of that. Anyway, or actually like multiple Star Trek episodes. I think Star Trek: The Next Generation, they had the plot where one of the crew was trying to take down the ship for some weird reason multiple times. Like if they were like possessed by something, or data being reprogrammed by somebody or something like that. They had that same
Yeah,
kind
they
of.
definitely had that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can't blame Blake 7 for Star Trek ripping it off.
I'm not. I'm just saying.
I know you're not. Right.
No, that was the part I liked. If it had been more of the episode had been focused on that, I would have liked it better.
Yeah, that was alright.
Because, like, sort of the space intrigue stuff is more interesting than the battle of the weirdos on genetically engineered weirdos on the planet.
Yeah.
See, the comment
Right.
I made to Morgan, because I mentioned it in that previous video about the ones in that capsule, or whatever they call it, the projectile. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've noticed the recurring theme is give us a whole lot of information about aliens and then kill them all off. It makes me like, why did they spend so much time on the backstory of these guys if they're just going to kill them all? Like, and you know, like you said, I told you not to tell me about future stuff, so maybe some of them come back. I don't know, but if they don't, it seems kind of weird to spend that much time. Like, they meet these things, and it's like, yes, now I will tell you 5 minutes of backstory of all of our race and creatures, and then in the next 5 minutes we'll all die, and you'll go back to the ship and go somewhere else.
Okay, there's a little bit more to the description. Dwarf-like beings, the decimers, and apparently they're called decimers. I think, from what I recall, is that they could understand like 10 instructions. Is that right?
Sounded close to dulcimer, so I was thinking of the musical instrument.
Right. These, it transpires, are the genetically engineered creations of the lost, who survive as a corporate mind in a single body, Samon. The humanoids explain that their power cells are nearly depleted. If they have full power, they can beam a fungicide onto the web and are willing to do this in exchange for Blake's ship in replenishing their power supplies. Blake complies, but when he learns that they intend to destroy the decimers, he objects. By this point, however, Avon is teleported down with the cells, and they are forced to surrender them. The Liberator is freed, and the decimers finally invade the compound, killing Gila, Navarra, and Samon. So that's the outline of the plot. What did you? There's little elements in there, like at the start. Did you see the attraction that Avon had for Callie? When Callie said, "I'm interested in your work," and at that point he did not know
what he had said about before that about knowledge. I was like, if we didn't already, think this guy is an NT, then he really like just declared it in so many words there. Like basically all knowledge is useful. So it seemed to me like, yeah, the fact that she said that he was attracted to his words, even if he's not necessarily attracted to her. What she said was appealing to him. Oh, somebody who's interested in learning, that's a good thing. So,
yeah, but I think it was, and it said in the book, the Liberation book, that they held eye contact for like 10 seconds.
All right.
And
didn't seem like that long, but then I only saw it once.
And there's an interesting thing later on. So you saw Avon's attraction for Callie, but then you had an interesting thing where this happened, where he then gets her by the throat. What was that all about? And so he's probably thought, right at that point, he's mad, because of the way he's mad that she, although under the influence, was playing with his affections. And so you can see him there, his violence towards Callie. He's not a very trusting soul, Avon. Right.
Well, in the universe that they've established, it makes sense not to be trusting. Because I mean, you got
one of the other things,
Federation being like try to control everybody, and that was the other thing. In retrospect, because we watched those episodes in a row, like you said, the second episode's the one where they had the mutiny on the ship and everything. There's the line where the captain tells them to put the strongest dose of the drugs or whatever in their food or drink or whatever because he likes the crew docile. I'm like, obviously they didn't get to didn't have that effect yet.
Yeah.
Because they were all like perfectly alert and ready to take over the ship. So anyway, I just remembered that.
You were talking now about Avon and him, and the things he was saying about Blake. In the book, because it was in the book, he was saying that in the previous episodes, Avon was talking about leaving. And then you start getting lines in this one where Avon's saying, there's things about as long as Blake is still in charge. Little things like that. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah.
So you can see Avon's ambition to be in charge rather than to just leave.
I mean, I didn't necessarily take it as ambition, but more just like, he's always thinking about what's the smartest thing here. And if he's ready, if he thinks Blake is leading him down stupid paths, to say, well, I don't think we should listen to him anymore.
But I take Morgan's well-observed point on board that Avon's not exactly subtle about hiding any kind of agenda. Anyone can see what his agenda is. So, but
maybe he's an ENTJ then.
Well, it would be very. But you see, how would if we're writing it, how would we articulate it? Avon's agenda. If you know what I mean? Like if he was hiding it, we'd only know if we could go like straight into his head. So maybe for dramatic reasons.
Obviously, they're not. Terry Nation is fine with having weird mind control stuff going on all the time anyway. So you might as well just have close up of Avon's head and you hear his thoughts. You wanted to do that.
Yeah, but then you also
they're not afraid of being weird. So
yeah. But
it's not going to be more bizarre than anything else they've done.
But I can understand the writer's point of view that we want conflict. So maybe Avon, this character that's so strategic, maybe says things that he ought to really not say if he really is being so strategic. But honestly, maybe INTJs are just like that, though. They just say stuff.
I would like to see more from the others. That was, I told you before that I thought Jenna was being too trusting of Blake and too, just being the normal girl character. Well, that's the thing is in the first episode, she wasn't. Like, they introduced her as being different than that. And then it was like she fell into a role that wasn't what they established her as first.
Is this the costume that you said you liked on Avon?
No, it was the thing he was wearing before.
Right.
That one makes him look like Niter from Genesis of the Daleks.
Right.
Except for I don't think Niter's had the silver parts there. Maybe he did. I don't remember.
Niter looked more like a Nazi. And this was a point where there's an interesting part where Avon saves Blake's life, and then Blake asks why, and then Avon's answer is automatically, I'm as surprised as you are. And I stopped taking grabs at that after the first 10 minutes because we were short on time. Yeah, and I transitioned straight to.
That was slightly amusing.
And it is a bit about his nature. Avon says that's because she's an alien. Everyone's an alien to him. He's certainly more at home with machines.
Well, I thought it was interesting that in the last episode, Jenna had said the line about, tells us something about the wisdom of inviting aliens on board when they had just brought Callie on. And then in the next episode, she's sabotaging the ship. So.
Right. I thought I like all the things that they do with Avon really is like there. He wants to lock her up or dump her out the ship, and then we've got this little bit about computer logic. I like the way they use computers in Blake 7. And then you got computer logic. Until the bomb explodes, there is nothing for the repair system to repair. Preemptive interference in crew activity is forbidden. Oh, and then Blake says, "Oh, he'll clear up afterwards, but he won't stop us making a mess." And then I wrote down here, "That's an SP's dream."
Yeah.
that you don't want anyone to stop you messing stuff up, but you would like people to clear up after you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a convenient plot device for them to go through a bunch of action and drama and stuff when it easily could have been prevented.
What could have easily been prevented?
Well, if the computer could just go, oh, bomb, and then deal with it immediately, then there would be no sabotage.
Yeah, well, they've established that the computer it's been programmed oddly by whoever programmed it, and may still be somewhat in control of it. They've left it kind of ambiguous as to why. Yeah,
because it makes it easier on plot line.
well, right, but I mean, it's not just that it's easy; it's just that it adds suspense to what is really the deal with the
No, I
computer.
like that.
Yeah,
it's just also convenient for the plot, right? Because of that. Because they can be like, and everyone seems fine with it. They're like, why doesn't, no one challenges or tries to, like, spend time to figure out the computer thing. They just go along with whatever.
Well, Avon tries to.
They've sort of done little half-hearted attempts to do that.
Exactly.
And Avon is, mostly just made disparaging remarks about it.
He said he was going to, like, reprogram it, but he never did.
Yeah, it's just that Avon's dealing with the technology. I mean, Avon's like a supercomputer expert, and he's dealing with an alien technology that's sort of like beyond him, but he is still trying to find its secrets.
There's times where he says he's going to do something and he doesn't, because he's just kind of, I don't know, he's chatty. He doesn't do a bunch of stuff that he says he's going to do. Though I did think it was cool when he first, like in the first episode, when he knocked that dude out. I was like, oh, hey. And NT was actually, get some action in it.
He will do stuff. Right. Right, what we got here? We got, I put there, man in fish tank, not so special effects. Oh, yes, at the end, when you saw Blake's reaction to the writing Decimus, what did you think his reaction was? Do you think it was sympathy, disgust, astonishment? A mix of all three?
To what?
When he sees the Decimus at the end, those little creatures rioting, and he looks out of the window and sees them, what did you think of the reaction on Blake's face?
I don't remember it. Do you have a picture of that?
No, unfortunately, no, because we were pressed for time. I decided to quickly go to.
I don't remember specifically noticing that. I just remember it was like these Ewok-like creatures are attacking and making a bunch of noise, and then they start just destroying everything. And the others didn't seem like they cared much about that. They made some comment about them, but then it was just like, okay, life goes on or whatever. Yeah.
I kind of liked the fact that I kind of like the way his facial expression, because of that. It's not so specific. He's just kind of lost in the moment there.
Hmm.
So, you can say it's whatever, but you don't really know. It adds kind of tension and some intrigue to what he's actually thinking, because he doesn't give it away.
Yeah. I mean that bit comes from the book where they say they don't know, is it sympathy, is it disgust? Is it astonishment? Is it a mix of all three? And they were saying that was good acting from Gareth Thomas as Blake.
Yeah.
So what did you both think of his acting in that episode?
I didn't really think anything in particular about it. I mean, he's been pretty consistent from the start. The character seems to be. I said before, I thought he's probably a perceiver. That was really my only type guess on him. And I continue to think that because it seems like his focus is mainly just on getting through the next thing. I mean, he will think like one step ahead, but if he's got more beyond that, he's not telling people that or not having them say that out loud. That
I
part
think he's an ESFP
could be.
because he always does things based off his feelings, and because he always shows that he's emotional based as opposed to having some.
Yeah, there was a part in one of the episodes. There was a moment. Now I can't, if I remember what it is, I would say, but there was one moment where I found myself thinking he's an ENFP, but then I was thinking, if he is, he's like the calmest ENFP ever. Which, not that there couldn't, it couldn't be, but that was kind of the feeling I had. But I don't remember exactly what was happening then, so I can't remember why I was specifically thinking that. But that was just sort of the feeling I got at that moment.
Do you think that a lot of times, and Avon will point this out, that Blake withholds information from the crew?
Yeah, well, and that kind of part of what I was saying about getting through the next thing is that tends to be what his response to anybody else who questions him is. It's just like, here's what we need to do this, and he only gives the amount of information that is necessary to achieve whatever that is. He doesn't believe in saying a bunch of extraneous things for the sake of hearing himself talk or whatever. Unlike all the aliens that they encounter, which like to tell their entire life stories before they're killed.
Yep.
Well, I guess not the ones that were on the thing. They didn't talk about themselves. We just found out about them through like the computer and other stuff. But they didn't talk themselves. They just attacked. But yeah, everybody else is like to talk and give you their life story. And the Ewoks probably would have too if they'd been able to say much.
Mhm.
But I think one of them actually said like "help us," and then that was the only actual words that you heard, and the rest was just shrieking.
When in the previous episode, when Callie first sees Avon, did you see Callie look Avon up and down? Did you see any attraction? I'm just going off the book because I never watched that episode.
Not in particular.
Sometimes the book, the Liberation book, it reads things in that aren't there. But it's written by an intuitive, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, I other than overt comments like Squirrely Guy calling her pretty lady, I didn't really get any of that necessarily. If anything, I think it's possible that Blake was a little bit thrown off when he first saw her, because he'd seen like he. I'm not going to say he's like inherently sexist or whatever, but I think when it's like he sees a woman and his first thoughts are not that she's going to be like tough enough to do like shove him down the thing and stuff like that. Yeah. He's kind of looking at her like, really, you're the one who did that? So I mean,
do you notice how he says things? Do you notice how he says things like, "Well done, Jenna"?
Yeah, he's a little on the condescending side, but not as much as Avon is.
Do you think Jenna likes Blake?
Well, she's obviously got to like him somewhat, or she wouldn't do what he says. But I don't know that there's likes him.
What, have you seen the looks that she gives him?
Well, yeah, I mean, she hugged the dude when he came back, but that was another thing I said I didn't think was all that realistic. Like, it seemed like with the character they established, it seemed like a little bit of an odd show of emotion for her at that point. But
yeah, she just kind of jumped in there and was suddenly all friendly.
Yeah, like I said, they kind of, and I'm not trying to like stereotype like, oh, she's the stock character tough chick, so she can't do that. But it just seemed like from what they'd established up to that point, it was a little bit, I said at the time, it was a little bit jarring for her to do that. Like, it didn't seem like it really fit. But, But I'm really not into analyzing how the looks people give you. I hate doing that in real life, much less in fiction. It's like, I realize people do that, but it's like I'm not really big on trying to figure out what that's supposed to be establishing or whatever. I know you apparently are, so I'll let you do that.
Oh, you can see you see, I have the advantage of seeing the other episodes, and so, which type do you think Callie is? Or best fit?
Mind controlled character.
Well, okay, temperament.
I don't know. She's a creature. She's hard to gauge because we've only had her in 2 episodes, and in the
Right.
first one was like her introduction where she just told the backstory of her experience, and then the second one she's spent most of the thing taken over by other people. So
That's fair enough. I'll ask about that in future.
yeah.
There's some interesting things in the book about, because I actually read the article for this one, which is the first one that I've read, and this is in the book that's not. Oh, actually, I did read it for Cygnus Alpha and Timescale, but this one in the web had things like now the two people that wrote this book lean left, and so they were concentrating on things like the elements of control and fascism in the story, which Terry Nation likes to do, and that it's actually made it quite ambiguous. We have these things, that line from Avon towards the end. These are what you wanted to protect. And so...
Yeah, I was right with him on that. I mean, I was like, yeah, really. And the part where they're like, we didn't bring the energy cells, and they're like, no, really, give them to us, or we'll kill you. You know, I'm like, didn't you say you need? You know, I'm like, well, fine, just quit right there. Just throw the cells up in the air and run. I'm like, at that point, I'm like, you tried to be all friendly with us, and then you're just like, never mind, we're jerks. We don't care about you. Your lives are meaningless to us.
Yeah, I was even thinking logically that made no sense. I said at the time that like the best they would be able to do in that situation, they're going to go the hostile route, was be like, we're going to kill you if you don't give them to us, and if they don't, kill one of them and see if the other one gives it to you, and if they don't, then they still need one of them alive.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't kill that other person. And if they killed the first person and they don't get it from the second person, then they're probably never getting it. So they're screwed. So it's like, it's just really like logically didn't make sense either.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can say that as they were like the created creatures of the other weirdo, like that basically he didn't do a very thorough job, you know, or he's just not very smart. You know, maybe he can make things, but he doesn't understand like how to get those things accomplished, and that's why he gets himself killed.
Well, a lot of criminals, they just like to have people around them that indoctrinate, like, who are dumb and just do what they say because they think I'm smart enough to do your thinking for you. And
right, but if you're not,
yeah,
then you know you suffer from your own. And I've actually kind of made that point in some of my Doctor Who reviews because sometimes people will attack certain things. You know, some of the Doctor Who aliens, you can make the case that there's plot holes in certain things in their plans, but I've always looked at it as there's no, you know, thing that says just because this particular alien race has technology that's more advanced than Earth or whatever, that means that they're all really smart and that they're all good at strategy. They could have big flaws in their plans, and that's just part of how they are.
yeah.
Like I said that about the faceless ones because I was like, okay, the thing where they had the duplicate bodies and they just had them like in cars in the airport. I'm like, so many things could have gone wrong with that plan. I'm like, there's so many ways where the bodies in the airport, you know, we're going to parking lot or whatever, we're going to be messed with. You know,
Well, you can
and
have
so
this thing.
but I'm like, well, you can look at that two ways. Either it was a dumb part of the story, or the aliens themselves just really didn't think it out too well.
Well, you can actually. I mean, I think other stories have done this where they've gone onto the theme of as the machines get smarter, the machines start doing the thinking of the people, and the people become dumber.
Yeah.
That
But
might
I
have been
actually think,
touched on
in a sense,
in other
it's kind of a
stories.
good thing, and that it establishes that, this idea, you make the like aliens into stock characters and not very interesting if you make them all, well, they're all these superior to humans because they have like, you know, they had space travel first, or they had, whatever things you want to say, they've got these things. And so automatically they're just like this superior race, and the only way the humans can defeat them is through either brute force, or they find some way to trick them in some way or whatever. They find some weapon that works against them, like random stuff like, oh, we can throw gold in the Cybermen chests and that kills them, things like that. But I think it's cool actually that you have stories where it's like, no, just because they are advanced in some ways doesn't mean that they're all necessarily going to be better in these particular circumstances, better or smarter. So anyway.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, lots of people that it's like it's what the old timers would have said. When the first electronic calculators came out, they said, "Oh, it makes people lazy. They can no longer do mental arithmetic because they're using these calculators." And if they're letting the computers do the thinking for them.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true. That's why humans have been getting stupider for decades.
As we know, there's the people that use technology, and they don't really know how it works, and then there's the NTs that love it. Particular kinds of NTs, like the INTJs, like Avon. The few people who actually know how it works, or like your older brother.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is with Avon, like, his hostility towards the computer, like, it's almost like they got a rivalry going there.
Yeah. And it's even like, it's just a machine. It's like...
Yeah. Well, that's I noticed too, like when we were talking about the personification of machines and people calling them he and she and stuff, he's the only one that refers to the computer as it.
Yeah.
And it isn't it. It's a computer. Like I said, if they changed the computer probably could be changed to a female voice, then would they start calling it she? Probably so. I thought that was kind of funny, actually, the one part when it's like, your species requires a visual representation. Well, it also requires an audio representation. That's why it has a voice. And they instantly like respond to that by referring to the computer as he because of the voice. So they're well trained. Humans are well trained.
So now you, I think I probably already asked what you both think of Avon. But in type terms, what do you think his best fit type is?
I mean, I think you're probably right on the NTJ thing. Probably either INTJ or ENTJ.
It's hard to tell with characters in a show if they're
Yep.
introverted sometimes, because introversion is even harder because they voice a lot of their thoughts that they might not normally if they weren't, having to.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they're being used for drama.
The thing that would make me lean a little towards INTJ is he said the line about something about it was terrible that he had to spend time around people or something. He said something like that in his first episode, the second episode overall. There was some line about that. So if not for that, I would kind of lean toward ENTJ, but he does say that, makes me think. But, on the other hand, it's like extroverts could say that too. It could be like he just thinks other people are inferior to him, so he doesn't want to be around them. So, either way.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much covers it. Because in future, folks, I will make more note. I'll actually watch the episodes rather than just going off memory, and we'll have a fuller discussion with lots of slides. So it's goodbye from me.
So next time, what's the next episode called?
It's a good one, and it might be to your liking. I hope that's not a spoiler. It's called Seek, Locate. Seek, seek, locate, destroy.
All right, sounds
Action.
definitely can't tell that title's written by the same guy who created the Daleks.
Yeah, but let's see.
All
Let's
right.
see if I've got that title right. Let's see if.
All
Let's
right.
make. I want to make sure. Yes, it is. Seek, locate, destroy. That's it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was
Bye-bye.
an exact one of the Daleks. See you
Yeah.
next time.
Bye bye.